Yo, what is going on YouTube? GZTV back with another coverage of the MCU, and in this video we have the 2022 American superhero film based on Marvel Comics featuring the character Doctor Strange. We have the sequel to the original back from 2016. This one came out in 2022. We have Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. This is a big time video, and obviously I have an NFL recap still to do, but this is going to mark the last big Marvel film and kind of the first huge phase before we get into the brand new films. But it's been a minute since I've seen No Way Home, which this movie is connected to. Again, I know it's technically tied, but honestly it's kind of hard to connect the two given the time gap of me watching them. Maybe I made a mistake by not watching Multiverse of Madness sooner and that movie sooner, but hey, better late than never. I love Sam Raimi, and seeing him step back into a horror lane with this one was awesome. Obviously he brought us the Spider-Man trilogy that was legendary back in the day, one of my favorite trilogies of all time, probably my favorite trilogy of all time. There's nothing burnt out about Doctor Strange as a character to me, especially since he hasn't had much coverage on the channel or in the MCU spotlight lately. We know he was kind of a part of the Spider-Man universe, he was kind of a part of the Avengers films, but not on a scale that a guy like an Iron Man or a Hulk was. It's been a few years since I've seen the original Doctor Strange. I think 3 years ago. You guys can go see my shitty review on it, but I remember somewhat liking it. It had its own style, good visuals, and a unique concept. I never watched Wandavision. That's another show that was kind of connected here, and you can see Scarlet Witch in the cover there, and maybe that was a mistake because seeing Wanda as the villain here threw me off a bit, but now I know that show kind of segued her into being that way. That series kind of fills in the blanks. Coming in Blind made that twist a bit weird. It's not supposed to be a twist. You were supposed to watch Wandavision. Overall, this movie was fine. We'll get into it. It did what it needed to do. Didn't fall short, but didn't necessarily surprise me either, except for the whole Wanda being the villain thing, which I'm sure would make a lot more sense with some background. Should I watch Wandavision? Let me know in the comments. So just getting into the premise, what happened. So following the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, apparently this comes right off of that. The boundaries between universes have become fragile, and Dr. Stephen Strange finds himself dealing with the consequences. So we know in the MCU there's this whole thing with multiverses. There's an unlimited amount of universes. It's kind of like parallel universes in real life and how people have tried to study that, but this is kind of Marvel's take. This is kind of the superhero version of it. When a mysterious young girl named America Chavez, which is badass with her coat, by the way, I love it, arrives in his world being chased by interdimensional monsters, Strange discovers she has the power to travel between universes, a power others kind of want to exploit and others are kind of looking to get to her. So she's kind of like a vessel for destruction. She's kind of like the child getting held up no, you can't have this, I'm gonna fight you off. In his search for answers, Strange turns to Wanda Maximoff, hoping the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, can help him understand what's happening. But it turns out Wanda is the real threat, and I guess there is kind of a twist with that, but again, Wandavision should have reinforced that. She's been corrupted by the Darkhold and obsessed with reuniting with her fake ass lost children in a different universe. She becomes the movie's primary villain. Now I don't know if that's the original Wanda. Again, I didn't watch that series and it might have been able to kind of explain that, but still. To stop her, Strange must journey across the multiverse, encountering alternate versions of himself and others, which is really cool. And we meet the Illuminati, a secret group of superheroes from another universe. I guess that's fake in this movie. I don't know if they actually put it in the comic books or not, but you have Professor X, who we know from the X-Men, Captain Carter, and more. As worlds collide, Strange is forced to question the limits of his own morality and the true cost of wielding immense power. So let's get into it. So getting into the good, I know you guys heard me say that I didn't really like the whole twist and it kind of threw me off that Wanda was the villain, but I do think overall, as a performance, Elizabeth Olsen was fantastic, and I think Wanda being the villain here and being a familiar character, not just a character they pull out of the comic books and a character that has been established in the MCU at this point, that's cool. I love it. It's again strange seeing her flip from hero to corrupted Scarlet Witch, but I think she absolutely nailed it for that. The idea of wanting something so badly in another world that you turn evil for it is such an interesting concept, and she sold that absolutely beautifully. Doctor Strange as a character as well, I think he developed really well throughout here. His relationship with Christine still holds weight, and his fatherly dynamic with America Chavez was surprisingly strong. Him putting faith in her during the third act was one of the movie's best emotional beats and one of the best moments, and then you see her at the end and they're speaking Mandarin and doing the weird ring shit, and he sees her and it's I'm glad you did too, kid. So really good stuff. They're really emotional, and I think the visuals and the multiverse exploration was amazing. Absolutely awesome. One of my favorite parts. You get the color, the design, the creativity of hopping through universes. It made the movie an absolute blast. It was one of the most fun parts of this film. The middle sequence with Strange and Chavez was peak MCU creativity, just peak MCU fun, just throwing a bunch of random concepts, and they have that whole series on Disney Plus with the Marvel What Ifs, and that felt like that. And honestly, maybe I'll like the Marvel What Ifs now that I've seen something like that. And I think the tone balance is fine. I think it's actually good. Sam Raimi brings the signature weirdness, but keeps it MCU appropriate. Not too scary, not too goofy. It's fun and well balanced. The kind of tone the Guardians of the Galaxy movie should take notes from. I'm not saying like the horror aspect, but I think overall just laying down on the humor, this movie did a good job with. The pacing is tight, well structured, and didn't overstay its welcome. I liked that. Nice to see a Marvel movie under 3 hours that doesn't drag. And the explanation and the exposition of how they did things. They did a solid job explaining the multiverse mechanics, the Darkhold, and Chavez's powers without confusing casual viewers. So that's really all I'm going to say. These are going to be short videos. I'm going to try to keep a lot of these short recently, especially because I don't want to sit here and yap to you guys now. I really liked a lot of stuff in this movie, and I think this is a decently better movie, just kind of comparing some movies I've done in the past. A decently better film than Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but obviously we have a lot of the fundamental characters. We didn't lose a Chadwick Boseman in this universe, so there you go. Getting into the bad, I will say like the cameos and the fan service, like I know they tried to go for a lot of that here. I don't think it really landed, and it was kind of forced, like they were kind of hinting at it and they made kind of a shitty attempt at it. It was the weakest part of the film and something I didn't care about. It's not anything that pissed me off, but it was definitely bad because again, if they were trying to do that, they didn't do a good job. The Illuminati reveal was okay, but I haven't really watched any of the X-Men films, and maybe that's my fault. I don't really know how the X-Men should connect to Doctor Strange. I don't know like the interweavings of everything. I'm not like I am a Marvel geek. Like I watched a lot of Marvel movies back in my childhood, but the X-Men, never really a corner of this universe I visited. So if I have that here, I don't know. Nothing hit hard emotionally or like nostalgically. It wasn't like, oh fucking shit, he's back. It wasn't like John Cena coming back to the goddamn Royal Rumble hype. It wasn't that. It felt like a hey, we did it moment rather than something meaningful and something they just kind of threw in the movie. Like it was fine. It was kind of bad though. Like I think the lack of it is what's bad. The visuals and effects at times get a little bit goofy as well. I think this movie kind of struggles with that. Some of the stylistic choices, like the music note fight, the floating eyeballs, and like how the zombified version of Doctor Strange looked. It's fun, I guess, for like kids, and like it's a very family friendly movie. Like you could take your family to this movie and enjoy it, but overall it looked really goofy to like a mature person that was looking for a Marvel film. Silly, I don't know. I don't think it's really cool. I guess it's fun. I guess it's like cheesy in a fun way, but I didn't like it. The third act, emotion. Even though the movie moves somewhat quickly, especially for its 2-hour runtime, the finale felt kind of rushed for some reason. Like the Wanda tragedy is emotional but not powerful enough to land like it should. You know, she's kind of sitting in this like castle that has the Darkhold in it, and she's, you know, like sitting in this split reality, this split like portal, and she sees her kids and she sees like her civilized self, and she like gets emotional because she can't have the kids, and like all that's fine and dandy, all that was necessary to like develop her character, but then she's like, I know what I need to do now. Let me get rid of the Darkhold. Boom. Movie's basically over. I don't get it. I didn't really like that, so there's the bad. So getting into the okay, like the big sentiment about this section is that this is stuff that's just there, stuff I don't really care to talk about, but I have to kind of acknowledge because it's in the movie and it's a big part of it. I think Sam Raimi's horror style and him just having a horror style, because I guess Sam Raimi is known to have horror films, but I don't really know him for that. I really know him for the Spider-Man trilogy, so when I see him go for it, it's like, whatever. I guess like the Spider-Man with like the Venom and all that, that had a horror element to it. It's fun and refreshing for the MCU, I will say. I think that's the good part of it, is that it takes a different direction, but something we've seen before from him. Enjoyable. This movie's just not groundbreaking. I will say overall this movie's not a very groundbreaking one. America Chavez as a character overall, cool power, decent energy, not really a standout character. I do think they do a well enough job of like explaining her lore, but there you go. The Illuminati, overall like the Illuminati stuff is fine. Like there's fun casting, but it has a weak impact. You have the guy from A Quiet Place, you have Professor X, who we know, also the guy from Star Trek, and you have all of these different characters in there. Really good casting, really fun cameos in that respect, but it didn't do anything for this movie at the end of the day. The action choreography, kind of a mixed bag, visually creative, but sometimes it gets sloppy, and I have been talking about the effects recently. I do think a lot of the effects are pretty sloppy in this film, but there you kind of have it. The score and the soundtrack, functional, but rather forgettable. I don't think they were really meaning to have an insane soundtrack. I don't think they had like the Kendrick Lamar or like Metro Boomin doing the cartoon Spider-Man stuff. They didn't really mean it to be like that. They just meant it to kind of be in the movie, and that's fine. The cinematography, pretty clean, but standard. Again, there's a lot of standard things. There's a lot of pretty meh things, which is why we're talking about it in this section of the video. The ending, I think it's a fine resolution. Like it just kind of closes like whatever. Wanda's self-sacrifice works. This is a little anticlimactic based on like what they were building this movie to be, but it's whatever. I'm not gonna really hate on it, shit on it, put it in the bad, nothing like that. I just think it's kind of there. Did she die a hero? Sure. And do I appreciate that? Yeah, that's awesome. And it's fine to see characters die because that's what you need to move a franchise franchise forward, and for that I can applaud it, but it just kind of felt out of nowhere. I don't really know. So here we go. Let's get into the review. You can go ahead and pull up the tier list. This is what you guys say on YouTube Shorts. So what's going on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels? Let's talk about this damn thing. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is stylish, weird, and visually ambitious. It has its own flair. It has a vibe to it. It is a somewhat distinct film in this universe, but the way they execute it isn't very distinct. It's a solid MCU entry that benefits from Elizabeth Olsen as a fantastic villain, and we know Benedict Cumberbatch has been a staple for this Doctor Strange character, and there's some awesome multiverse visuals. There's a lot of stuff kind of going into it, but it doesn't quite reach the greatness it hints at. Like, was I expecting this to be a fantastic MCU film? Not really, but it just kind of meets my expectations, which I guess can be a positive, but doesn't go over top. It's fun, fast moving, and well directed. It's just not a classic. It's just not really an MCU film that I will go back to. So with that being said, it is a 7.6 out of 10. I do think that is a really good score for it because it's kind of just fine. Do I want to rewatch it? I'd probably only rewatch this film for the sake of it being in the MCU if I were to like go back and have like a whole MCU marathon, which with how many movies there are in this franchise, I really don't feel like doing that again. I have other things to get to, especially for the channel. But there you have it. I'm gonna get this video out and then we're gonna watch It's Welcome to Derry. I actually might watch that like tonight, maybe. I don't know. I'm recording this on Tuesday, so you're gonna get an NFL recap on Wednesday. This video should be Thursday, and maybe if I'm feeling ambitious enough, we will get the It Welcome to Derry video out Friday and maybe have another video for the weekend. But it's a slow week. I gotta close out the semester, close out for Thanksgiving break as well for my school. So that's where we're at. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, go check out the socials. As always, it has been your boy GZTV. Leave some suggestions in the comments if you feel so. Thank you guys for watching.